Hi again, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm. Well, I'm in one of my greenhouses here. I'm taking down some grapevines. I planted them inside here and they've gone wild, taking up a lot more space than I want to give them. So I want to relocate them outside. And to do that, as I take down the stems of these grapes, I'm going to take some cuttings off of them and root those for planting outside. So this, of course, being in the middle of winter and this being a firm stem, will be an example of hardwood stem cuttings. And I've done those on this channel before for roses. So this will just give me another opportunity to give you an example of how to take those cuttings, where to root them, and I'm hoping to get some good close-ups for you as well so you can see how those cuttings are taken. Okay, I've got a section of grape stem here, and this is the bottom of it, and that was the part that was closest to the trunk or the base of the plant. And then you want to keep track of which part is the bottom and which is the top, because as you can see on this section here, once you take and cut it off, there isn't a lot of distinction between what would look like the top and what would look like the bottom. And if you bury the bottom, you may get roots. If you bury the top, you won't. So good thing to keep a track of there. Second thing I'm going to mention here is I'm going to take a cut on this section here and show you something. There is no look of life there. It's brown on the inside. And so that was just a little stub or a stem. What you're looking for on the inside of this is something that still has the look of life. So I'm going to take another cut right here and hopefully be able to show you what I mean. And here it is. Again, focus on that. And you can see that at the bottom edge, inside, there's lighter browns, but more importantly, sort of that pithy, whitish, greenish inside of the tissue. That indicates that you have a live part of the grapevine. So, from there, that is a cut taken at a node. Right in the center of your screen now, that's the second node. Here's a third node, and I'm going to even push it down to a fourth node. So it's nice if you have more than one node or two nodes on the stem. I'm going to cut above that fourth node there. And that is a good cutting of that grapevine. So now I'm going to use some rooting powder on the bottom end. Make sure I tap that off because you don't want it too thick on there. And now that's ready for sticking in my rooting medium. Okay, here's a bucket of some that I've taken already. You can see some are longer and some are a little bit shorter. And over here, I'm just sticking these, and I stuck some yesterday in a bulb crate with some potting soil in it. And it actually froze a little bit last night, so there's a bit of a crust on there, but I pre-dibbled a spot for the one that I'm putting in. And so here it is with the rooting hormone on it, and into that spot there. In that case, it's actually burying the bottom node, and it's basically up to two other nodes there where it could root, although I suspect that most of the rooting is going to happen from the very bottom of the cutting. Okay, we'll check in on these in a few months and see how they've done. Time for an update on these grape cuttings, and you'll note that I have two rows here. The front one is the red, the back one is the green variety. The red one and the green one have both started shooting. So these are the same dormant cuttings I placed in there in the middle of January. It's the middle of May now, so 4 months later. And try pulling on this. I can feel that it's rooted right from the bottom. This one here is a little easier to move, so let's pull that one out and get a look at what's happening on the bottom of the cutting. And I'll pull that up a little bit here and focus, and you can see that it's got roots emerging, whereas this one is already fully rooted. Now moving a little over to the left here, and maybe zooming in as well. You can see that one there on the left has started to shoot, but it hasn't developed leaves yet, so it's a little further behind. And this one here to the right of it has completely failed to root. So I think there's 2 in the tray now that have failed to root, and the rest of them are either in the process of rooting or have fully rooted. I'll pull that one out so you can see it a little bit closer. I'll get a little closer up in here, and I'm just going to remove some of the soil from behind it and around it so I can maybe get those roots out without damaging it too badly. I may get the question later on, what did I do for care of these cuttings in between the time that I stuck them and now? And the answer is pretty much nothing. I gave them the occasional splash of water because this is inside my greenhouse, and so they're not getting natural rainwater. But other than that, I did nothing at all other than what you saw me do in the first video, which is take the cuttings and stick them in some rooting hormone. All right, here's the look at the base of that thing. I'm going to make sure we're nice and focused on that here. But yeah, that's well on its way to making an excellent grape cutting. It has shoots across the top and leaves across the top. It has roots across the bottom. I feel confident that if I put that into a small pot right now, it'll be ready to go into the garden, probably just in a month or so. So before you ask the question, this is a red horse chestnut tree. All right, that's all I have for you today on the update for the hardwood cuttings of grapes. I hope you found it easy. I sure did. And if you have any questions about the propagation of anything by cuttings in your garden, drop those below the video. I'll see what I can do to help.